What's up guys, it's Richie Rich back yet again, and this time I am bringing you a review of the 1997 sci-fi intergalactic film, and this is Men in Black. Be sure to check this the ones who are there to protect the scum of the universe. Yeah, Men in Black was it was a very interesting time for kind of sci-fi intergalactic films, because a year just before this film, Independence Day had rocked the cinemas, and before that, before like Independence Day, there was films, in the 80s and 90s that were dominated, by the Star Wars and the Alien film series of UFOs, intergalactic threats. I mean, that was pretty much the films that were dealing with those kind of topics of aliens and that. So when you moved into the 90s, you had Independence Day, which was directed by the makers who produced Godzilla, Independence Day was a very it was a big blockbuster hit, and it showed what the possibility of what could happen if aliens ever descended to the earth. Would humans be outmatched? Would they be conquered? All these kind of scenarios. But let's talk about everybody's favorite fun, charismatic, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith. This was to some people it probably would be seen as Will Smith's prime era, because he had to be probably the hottest TV star transition into movie actor in the world at that time. I think the only other guy who was on the tails of him was George Clooney, who was in the ER series, and he went on to Dusk Till Dawn, what was it, Outside, and he went on to the Batman and Robin film. But Will Smith, from 1990 to 1996, he was starred in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show, and he was doing movies in between while he was in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He started in Bad Boys with Martin Lawrence. He did Made in America and 6 Degrees in Separation. But once actually Fresh Prince hit his climax, and everybody wanted a taste of the Fresh Prince. He was offered these big budget films. And it's interesting enough, Will Smith, one of his main goals when he did finish on the TV series, he said he wanted to be the biggest blockbuster star of all, of not even the modern era, of all time. And just finished Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and all these big budget movies came direct to his ways, because as I mentioned before, for some TV stars who stay on these long running sitcoms, it's sometimes very difficult for them to transition to leading men. If you look at the main actors in Friends, in no disrespect way, none of them ever became as a leading star as Will Smith. If you adore how Will Smith is in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, especially in the later seasons when he's more mature, it's not parents just don't understand, it's more like Miami, that kind of Will Smith, that the big high top's gone, it's more like the lower kind of fade. That's the Will Smith that's presented in this film. Starring alongside him in a very good kind of partnership is the one and only Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee, that was the same actor in this, same actor in Fugitive, Under Siege, and he also did the voice in Small Soldiers. I just love the way how Tommy Lee Jones kind of plays this, plays it straight, opposed to how kind of Will Smith is, but it's the senior guy, he's got more years in the game. It's you got the young, like brash, you know, the new recruit, and then you got Tommy Lee Jones, who's got more years of the game and he's seen everything and that, so he has experience that he can now teach to Will Smith's character, you know. So you got the Agent J, Will Smith, and Agent K, and Tommy Lee Jones. How the story pretty much starts off is like it's basically explained that like aliens have kind of like always existed, you know. Pretty much the first sign of the aliens was in the 60s, you know, when like you know, aliens came, but it was so like covered up by the government, you know, so like the public and that didn't know. So you have aliens who are just living amongst humans, but they're wearing like, you know, disguises, you know, they're wearing like costumes just to, you know, show that they're like, you know, just normal as you and me, you know what I mean. So it introduces that like early on, you know, like you see these kind of like, there's a group of like Mexicans it's funny how they say aliens, you know, illegal aliens, you know, they're trying to cross the border, you know, and like they get caught by like the police, you know, I think the sheriffs and deputies, know them, you know, they get caught, you know, because they're trying to escape, you know, interrogate one of them, you know. One of them is in fact an alien, you know, and he goes like to attack one of the sheriffs, you know. But then MIB, who are first introduced, who's Tommy Lee Jones, Richard Hamilton, rest in peace, you always be in the rich team. Yeah, he was the Agent D, you know. So basically when Tommy Lee Jones, at the start of this film, he's like in Will Smith's position, you know. Agent D is like above him, you know. He's the one, like, he's the experienced one, he's the one who's like been there and seen it all, you know what I mean. And it comes to the point like you know, he's, you know, going into that process of getting retirement. So, you know, back to that scene, you know, they catch them and basically they kind of take these Mexicans who, you know, some of them are aliens, and they take them away from the police. And whilst the like, you know, Tommy Lee Jones is speaking to him and that, they were first introduced to the neuralizer. You know, the neuralizer was basically like a little gizmo that you can erase like someone's like memory, you know. And it could be, you could set it for like days, times. If you wanted to just like the last conversation, you could erase it. If you wanted to erase it for like, you know, the last like ex-girlfriends you have, you could erase it. Then the first like kind of speech you could say is like, you know, I want you to go back to school and get that GED, or, you know, get that degree you never got, you know. You automatically have that kind of idea in your head, you know. And you know, as that, you know, they've collected like, you know, the Mexicans, you know, and they've neuralized all of them, you know. Richard Hamilton, you know, he sits down with Tommy Lee Jones, you know, then Agent K and Agent D, you know, and, you know, they look up at the stars, you know, and he says they're beautiful, you know. And it just was that whole thing of saying like, you know, it's time, you know, it's time for me to kind of move on, you know. I've taught you everything I know, that you have to kind of be like the, you know, that kind of man they look up to in Men in Black, you know what I mean. So, you know, Tommy Lee Jones, he uses the neuralizer on like basically his mentor, you know. And it's a cool scene because once it flashes, it switches to Will Smith in New York City, and he's on the chase, you know, chasing one like perpetrator, you know, who is an alien in disguise as well. As he's chasing the guy, you know, because it doesn't show like what the guy committed, but, you know, or like, you know, why is the reason Will Smith chasing him, you know. But like you know, it goes all the way from like, they end up on like a double-decker like bus, I think it's a tour bus, you know, going through the streets of like Manhattan. They end up going to this big car park, you know, deluxe car park that rises up to about 6-7 stories, you know. Will Smith like runs the whole way up, you know, because the suspect he already demonstrates his kind of supernatural abilities. Like, he does these kind of like, you know, like Toad from X-Men jumps all the way onto like the top of like the deluxe car park, you know. And Will Smith just runs all the way to up, and he meets him, has his firearm, is about to like, you know, he's interrogating him. It's like he's saying, so what you know, why did you take it? And that alien just says something very chilling, and his pupils just move in, and Will Smith automatically deducts that, you know. He says like, what the heck are you? You know, you basically, like, you can't be from planet Earth, you know. And, you know, with quick work, he's able to, like, you know, get around Will Smith and get away. You know, that's when he bumps into Agent K, because to the interrogation room, you know, and they want to know, like, what happened with Will Smith. What Tommy Lee Jones is seeing him from, you know, the mirror that you can see and I can't see in those police kind of interrogation rooms, you know. Tommy Lee Jones is he sees him and he's like very impressed, you know, so he leaves his business card, you know, says MIB, you know, he would like him to go there for an opportunity to, you know, see if like he has potential, you know, to make it in there, you know. And it's a very quick and miss scene in there, you know, who I didn't speak about as well, Linda Florentino, you know, the hot nurse. Hello, nurse from Animaniacs, you know. She appears in it very quick, you know, and then she leaves, you know. I believe she drops her business card to Will Smith, you know. Next day, Will Smith's character decides to go see the MIB, you know. You just see him just looking at the big like white building, you know, one of them government buildings that no one wants to know anything, you know. He decides to take a chance. He looks at the card and he walks inside, you know. So he goes in the lift and he feels like the lift's going down. The lift just opens and it opens from the back, you know, and what you see is young like recruits of like Navy SEALs, military, submariners, all these lot of involved in, like, you know, protecting and serving like humanity. They got like basically the best of the best of the best. You know, we're introduced to Agent Z, you know, who brought all these lot and said they're trying to recruit all of them. And what's really cool with this scene is, you know, as they're in there, it's this completely white room, you know, and they're in these kind of oval chairs, you know. Will Smith basically asks again, like, why are we here? Then you got this admiral, you know, brother. He basically says, we're here because, he stands up and he says, we're here because we want you, because you want to recruit the best of the best of the best, sir. You know, and Will looks at him and he says, like, you know, just check out Captain America here, you know. He says, you know, we want the best of the best of the best, but he clearly doesn't know why we're here, you know. And, you know, I find that funny, but y'all ain't laughing, you know. And from what I got from that scene is military and those people involved in them particular forces, they're trained to a T to kind of not think for themselves, you know. It's like they're taught to, you know, if this happens, you do this, you know, if this man goes down, you do this and that. So they kind of don't have their own way to believe, you know, their own common sense to kind of see, like, no, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to use my own kind of character to voice my own opinion with that, you know, that kind of patriotism, you know. I go do whatever for my country, you know. And that's what I think, you know, Tommy Lee Jones saw kind of in Will Smith, you know. He may not even have those skills of like those recruits, but he's someone who can just like kind of think out the box, you know. He's like a maverick, you know. He can do what he can. Like, he was able to keep up with that alien, you know, just him by himself on foot, when probably most of them recruits wouldn't even lasted halfway, you know. So it's really sweet. And the best thing is they blend it with that kind of humor, you know. Like, after he gives them a multiple choice exams, you know, and all of them are using like because the oval kind of seat they sitting on is very uncomfortable, you know, and they're trying to like finish the test on the side. They put it on their knee. It doesn't help them to any avail, you know. So Will just like takes a turn. He grabs like the table and drags it, and you just hear this screech in the middle of the room. And he's just like, straight up, you know, like, if I'm gonna do this test, I need something comfortable to lay it on. Lays it on, just starts to do the test. It's like, you wanna jump on this, you know? It was brilliant the way he did this scene. Like, Will Smith finally gets like recruited onto the MIB because like Tommy Lee Jones saw something onto him. And you always gotta love that scene. It says, you know the difference between me and UK? I make this look good, you know. After this, like, upstate of New York, so this is like, you know, and I've been New York like a couple times, you know. I've never gone to this part, but it's like where the, you know, the provinces, you know, like the farms are there, you know. Basically, like, there's these farmers who are living, you know, the farmer and his wife, they're there, and like from the top of like the screen, you can see like a UFO just like about to crash land. you know, on planet Earth, you know. So actually makes this, like, he makes contact, you know, where this farmer is, you know. He basically gets attacked, you know, Edgar. He gets attacked by this kind of like big alien cockroach, and he basically goes inside. He basically uses his body as a disguise, you know, as the other aliens are doing in these films, you know. And this actor is played by Vincent D'Onofrio. The most comedic scenes are when Vincent is playing Edgar, you know what I mean? Because the wife knows that's not like the man I married and that, you know. But it's like, you know, for people who don't know him, you know, because he's living in a farm, he's already distanced from, like, you know, other New Yorkers, you know. So like the way like he walks and that is the most funniest scenes you see in these movies, you know. Like when he goes in, like after the cockroach has invaded Edgar, and he says like, I want salt, sugar, and some water, you know. And she said, I think the wife says, you look kind of rough, and he like pulls the rest of his skin back like this, and then she faints, you know. It's really cool scenes and that. But yeah, you're introduced to the real like main antagonist of the MIB film. The reason why you know, the cockroach alien like crash landed on Earth, his task was to find basically the galaxy, which is on like the Orion's belt, you know what I mean. So he believes to track like these he goes into this New York restaurant, and he basically finds these other two gentlemen who are, again, aliens in disguise, you know, and he believes they're the ones who have what he's looking for, you know. So he actually works as like a, I believe it's a chef waiter, and that you can see the cockroaches, you know. The way how they portray Vincent is just a filthy like farmer, you know, just happens to be in New York, you know. So like with quick work, you know, he uses like his you know, this cockroach spatula, you know, and he takes out both of them, you know what I mean, just destroying at least the human part of the bodies and that. But it also shows that he actually caught the alien as well, you know, and the alien actually gets transferred later on to the morgue, where Linda Florentino's character, who appeared earlier, that's where she works as. To the morgue, they you know, get to see Linda Florentino's character in this, you know. She's the like one who deals with like when the corpses come in. She's the one who has to, like, you know, put the details with them, slap them back in their kind of, you know, their kind of box or their tray, you know. Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones coming to question her. You can kind of see signs like you know, I don't know why it wasn't even, I don't know why they didn't carry on further. Now we can kind of see scenes that like her character kind of has the hots for Will Smith, you know, as like they're both like examining, you know, the one that Edgar took out, you know, the alien. She says like, you have really pretty eyes, you know. Will Smith's like, thanks, you know. And he, you know what I mean. So you can kind of see scenes like she was, I don't think she was meant to be the kind of main like love interest, you know, because I don't think it was that kind of picture, but it was kind of hinted there, you know. When they're examining like the corpse, you know, it turns out like they actually, once they're like going under like the kind of cheek, they press a button and it opens up. Turns out it was a robot that like a very miniature alien was controlling. The alien's like last words basically says like, the galaxy is on Orion's belt, you know. So this is what Edgar was looking for. The reason he crash landed on Earth was to get the galaxy. So the alien tells like Agent J and Dr. Laurel Weaver playing Linda Florentino that's where the galaxy is. So, like kind of detective work, you know, from K and J, you know, exit the morgue, you know. They're just kind of in a loss, you know, because like he even takes them back to MIB headquarters, and you know, K tells J that like, how can the, you know, galaxy be on Orion's belt? You know, he showed him how the galaxy is and the stars in the universe, that's Orion's, you know. How can it be Orion's belt? It's then we then like discover that Orion was basically the cat, you know. So the one Edgar took out, you know, the one he said like, you know, you will never have the galaxy, you know, the cat basically had the galaxy. It was basically like a kind of like, you know, pendant that was around the Orion, around a cat named Orion. Oh, he's just trying to like you know, search for like the cat like everywhere, you know, just causing devastation to everywhere he goes. You know, he took an exterminator, You know, he went one time into a jewelry store, you know, that's where he was able to see it was Orion. You know, he saw a picture of the cat with the pendant, you know, he took out the jewelry store. And even a cool scene is when, like, Will Smith's been given, like, the cricket, you know, so once they get, like, the weapons to say, okay, they're gonna go after, like, Edgar because he's, like, a Class A alien threat, you know, Will Smith's first given the cricket, you know, it's that small one that blasted, you go flying back, you know, which was really terrific, you know. So, you know, after, like, you know, it's like that kind of cat and mouse game, you know, they're trying to get to Edgar before he causes more devastation, you know, K and J, you know, the cat, Orion, drops in back into the morgue where Laura Weaver is, and she sees, like, the kind of the pendant that says, like, you see was on, like, the Orion's belt, you know. So from this, you know, Edgar already deduces that, like, you know, the cat's there where Laura Weaver is, and Kay basically J as she comes into the morgue basically to tell he tells Laura Weaver that we need the cat, you know, as like a witness for a murder case, you know. And then, like, Laura Weaver actually tells him, like, I don't know about the cat, but, like, you know, how about you take me instead, you know, because Will actually thought, like, as the audience thought, like she had the hots for him, which I think it definitely implied, but he was just trying to tell him about, like, the threat under, you know, because where she was, like, Edgar was just hiding underneath, you know, and he didn't really get it till the end, you know. Once, like, basically Edgar is able to get the cat and he's able to flee the MIB, you know, you get, like, a cool kind of chase scene of where, like, you know, they go inside that car, you know, and it's the one that's able to go upside down, you know, they go for a tunnel, you know, because basically now, because Edgar has what he wants, he basically is just trying to, like, leave the planet, you know. And because, again, it's been told that, you know, aliens have been coming here since the 60s. There were two, and I counted two flying saucers that were at the New York Pavilion. It was just disguised, you know, as like a kind of, like, you know, public attraction, as you see, like a monument or kind of like World's Fair, you know, but it was legit flying saucers, you know. So the alien that embodied Edgar is just trying to get that with Orion and flee the planet, you know. But as, like, you know, Edgar's trying to escape, you know, because he did take, like, the hot nurse with her, you know, as, like, that was going to be a snack, whatever that means, you know. You know, Will and Tommy Lee Jones, like, arrive to the scene, you know, and you have these big kind of, like, blaster cannons, you know, as he's trying to make his way, you know, basically out of planet Earth, you know. They shoot it down with these big, like, kind of rocket bazookas, you know, and this ship comes crashing down right in front of them, you know. And you just have this kind of, like, great climax scene where you see, you know, Edgar kind of rip his whole, you know, skin, like the rest of his last skin, you know, and out comes that cockroach alien, you know, Gecko, you know, like, you know, Agent J versus, like, the cockroach, you know, because Tommy Lee Jones says, like, he has to get his gun because he, you know, he ate his gun. So he goes inside him and he has his gun, you know. So, you know, obviously Will was no match for him, you know, because his only intention was just to get off the planet, you know what I mean. So he was able to kind of, once, like, Will's, like, been, like, tossed around the whole area, and in the fear, you know, he bangs some, like, cockroaches, you know, that are just near this kind of dumpster, and he starts squishing them. Oh, is that your auntie? I guess this must have been your sister, you know. As he starts crushing them, he starts to enrage them, you know. And as, like, the cockroach, it descends, like, to, you know, meet Agent J face to face, you know, you can see Tommy Lee Jones kind of emerging. He finds his gun and he's able to blast him, you know, from the inside. You know, Edgar is defeated, you know, like, you know, J and K, like, they sit down thinking, like, you know, the whole ordeal's over. Then, like, as behind, there just happens to be, like, another part of, you know, that alien, the cockroach, and he sneaks up at them to kind of get, like, one last bit of revenge, you know. But the nurse, Laurel, you know, uses one of the, like, the blasters, you know, and takes out that cockroach and eliminating that threat completely, you know. And you move into the, like, the kind of final end scenes, you know, of, like, it mirrors, like, what happens at the start, you know, of, like, kind of like passing the torch, you know, like a Richard Hamilton, you know, saying, like, you know, you know, that kind of thing, I'm too old for this, says HIT, you know. He passes the baton to, you know, Tommy Lee Jones, K, and now at the end, basically, K has now become that, you know, that mentor, who's now his time's passed, and now he's given like the you know, pass the torch on to Will. You know, so his last kind of like a wish is basically to be neuralized so he can start his life. You know, it's just start his new life, and you see in the papers that his long lost love, you know, he wives, you know, he ends up getting, I believe they get back together, and that lives his life happily ever after, you know. And the doctor, Laurel Weaver, the one at the morgue, she joins forces with Agent J, and she's now Agent L, you know. And you just, that's pretty much it of Men in Black. Soundtrack about, like, what I always loved with you know, especially the stars back then, you know, like Will Smith, like Jennifer Lopez, you know, you can even toss like, you know, Mariah Carey in there. You always had like that kind of main superstar who could do it all, you know, who could be the leading actor and then have their you know, their song featured in the film that could be top of the charts, you know. You know, Will Smith was able to do this, you know. The main theme tune for the MIB tune, the Men in Black, whoo, that one, you know, that same time as the movie kind of hit you know, the top of the charts, you know, like box office wise, the theme tune went up, the theme tune was on top as well, you know. So it just elevates the film so much when you've got like a major megastar like this who can sing, act, who's just talented in so many directions, you know. And it's very rare obviously to see it in kind of this era, you know, but it just shows how much of a big deal Will Smith was and still is to this day. Also had another tune which I love as well, which is called Just Cruising. Definitely check that out. You also had music from Nas, and music from Genuine, from Snoop Dogg, Jermaine Dupri, called Quest, Destiny's Child, and De La Soul. So it's a very kind of like R&B slash with hip hop kind of selected album. It's a very good blend. The film in general is a good blend of, like, you know, Will Smith's kind of hip hop and Fresh Prince of persona, and the kind of like, you know, the R&B side of, like, you know, New York City, because I think very, you know, with New York City in general just has, it embodies its own music of itself, you know, and that's what the film pretty much entails. Would I recommend this to? Right, as I mentioned, like, you know, this came out just a year after Independence Day. You know, in my opinion, I think this is a superior film. You know, plenty of reasons. I think one of the main reasons, I think Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith work as a better pairing than, you know, Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, you know. All, like, you know, great talented actors, you know. I think it's just like Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, like, they bounce off each other way better, you know. It's like he's the one who's straight and he can't stand like Will Smith's like smarky comments, you know, and Will Smith brings that kind of charisma, that charming kind of persona, so they both have more of like a kind of fine balance, you know. Whereas in Independence Day, you know, Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum's character, they kind of don't really work together until the like really last climax, you know, because they're both in different places where the, you know, the big colossal alien threat is attacking the whole globe, you know. So you don't really spend too much time with those characters, see how they work as a partnership to take down the main threat, you know. What they brought in this film, it was the use of practical effects. You know, as you can see, when the White House was blown up in Independence Day, it's as realistic when you see, like, when Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are about to, you know, blast the UFO and, you know, it's coming crashing down. It may have some minimal CGI effects, but it's all kind of just shot within camera. And this is why I even mentioned Independence Day, you know, with like the, because I was explaining about the sequels, you know. So you got the Independence Day had the sequel Resurgence, you know, and then like Men in Black had a couple sequels, you know. You had MIB 2, which came out in the 2000s, followed by MIB 3, which I think that was my favorite one since the first one, and you had the MIB International, you know. It always felt like in this film, Will Smith was way more invested in the role, you know. Like, I wouldn't say 2 and 3 were in the cash grab, but as Will Smith made this an Independence Day, he was just making his way to be an A-list star, you know. Whereas when he was already in MIB 2 or 3, you know, he was already the man, you know what I mean? It's like, you sometimes don't have to put kind of too much work if people are already going to come to the fest to see you just with the name on the, you know, name of the movie and it says Will Smith, you know. Thanks for taking time out of your busy, and I must say busy schedule for watching this review on 1997 sci-fi intergalactic smash hit Men in Black. Another upcoming review which day arrives. I assure you Richie Rich will be back yet again. Peace to fingers.
Here come the MIBs.